live. I look like a 10-year-old boy for this one. Super excited to be here. Um, I'm just checking our tech. Uh, Welcome. I'm super excited. I just got back from this whirlwind experience, taking my daughter to Cambridge, England for an interview for a PhD. It was totally spontaneous and unplanned, and it was amazing. And also, I'm so happy to be back in my office. So, woohoo! I did yoga. That's why I look like a 10-year-old boy. So today, I want to talk about why thinking feels exhausting right now. Anybody relate? Um, and why it's not your fault. Why does thinking feel exhausting and why it's not your fault? I did a survey and I'm continuing to kind of send it out about what's really going on with all of you who are um, interested in not subscribing to the Should Life. And I think the most important thing to understand is that we think we're confused. Like when we talk about like decisions that we have to make, choices that we have to make, things that are really super high stakes, from the little things to like, should I go on this trip? I had to make that decision. Should I leave my job? Huge decision. Should I say this thing to this person? And we're constantly in our head. And I think what I hear most often is, this idea that I don't know what to do. Like, I'm so confused. And I am here, number one, to debunk that myth. I'm going to say that you're not confused. Um, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, I'm going to talk about a few points about why you think you're confused, how to get out of overthinking, and to give yourself some permission and some strategies to start making decisions in a way that feels less exhausting. Okay, so if we go with this premise that you're not confused, and moreover, you're just overloaded. I have said for years that overwhelm is self-imposed. And I think people are like, what does that even mean? And what I mean that is that decision fatigue um, is less about making one really hard decision, and it's more about carrying in our mind. We have too many. We have too many decisions. I mean, I know in my own life that I feel, especially when I travel, honestly, and things don't work out the way we plan them, or I'm in a situation where I have to keep making decisions. I can recognize that now as decision fatigue. And when we have too many decisions at once, it becomes overwhelming and we get overloaded. And then we're constantly cycling in our head. Um, so, and I also think that this is really prevalent here in January at this time of the year because we have a lot of expectations for this new year. We're going to do all these things differently. This is going to be the year. And we come back from a break and then we're slammed and then everything just feels sort of the same. And so what happens is if you have a big decision that you need to make, we'll talk about high stakes decisions. What happens is that because we said we're going to take action. This is the time. This is the year. This is the month. I have it on my list. I'm going to finally do this thing. Um, we're making so many other little decisions every day and we get exhausted and we're in our head that we end up defaulting to behaviors that make us feel like we're taking steps or moving forward and making a decision towards certainty, but they're actually just doing the worst. They're making us more confused. And those things like researching, dreaming, planning, trying to do like pros and cons lists, researching, Googling, 100 tabs open, asking other people what they think, following other people. I think that happens in Substack so often. I just see it in the notes and people I talk to of like, I'm just going to find the best information, but I'm not going to actually execute on the big thing. So I want you to hear number one, write this down, put it on a Post-it note. If you're feeling exhausted already, it doesn't mean that you failed. Doesn't mean that 2026 is a fail. It doesn't mean that you should know better by now. It doesn't mean that everyone else in your life is letting you down, even if they are sometimes. Um, doesn't mean you're failing. What it really means is it's that your system, your whole system, your intellect, your mind, your body, your emotional self, right? All of those things are an overload. They're doing too much. And here's the most important piece: without any resolution, without any resolution. So if that is resonating for you in any way, shape, or form, give me a thumbs up, say yes, leave a comment. Um, I'm doing this on a new platform, and so I can't really see all the comments exactly right now. But I do want to know, and I want you to have a moment of resolution, which is taking an action, which is saying, yeah, that's totally me. Or if you have your own version of it. So what happens is then this behavior lends itself to waiting more, right? And what we're waiting for is certainty. Um, I saw an amazing note on Substack. I totally wish I could remember who I saw it from because I've been borrowing it, stealing it. Um, Certainty is for suckers. Waiting for the moment of certainty, um, it keeps people stuck like forever, a long time, right? Because what happens is we believe that if I think more, um, if I research more, if I get more information, um, clarity will appear. And that's not true. My daughter, who I took to Cambridge, has a lot of decisions to make. Um, she was accepted into this really elite program, but also she has a lot of other possibilities. And so I could just see this in real life. I'm like, I'm teaching a class on this. But the thing is that sometimes if we try to just think more or get more information because we believe clarity will appear in our head, that's not true. So what happens is, and again, I want you to see how powerful you could be if you could do this. So think about this. Clarity comes after we give ourselves permission psychologically to feel safe, right? We have to figure out what makes us feel comfortable enough with making a decision, with taking action. Because if we're just stuck in the fear of what if it doesn't work out? What if I make the huge mistake? What if people say I'm crazy? What if people don't like me? What if it fails? What if no one reads it? What if no one comments? Whatever, right? We don't feel safe. So we go default back to that loop waiting for this illusion of certainty. So what I want you to understand is that because of that, because we don't feel safe, high stakes decisions feel permanent with a catastrophic consequence, even when typically they're not. There's exceptions to all of this. There are really high stakes things I know that a lot of you are thinking about, but we believe that it's either the worst thing we could do or the right thing to do. And we don't have a way to chunk it down. And so we're waiting for that certainty. And then it creates this anxiety. And what we ultimately name it, because our mind is always trying to make meaning of everything, is, oh, I'm a responsible person. I need to be responsible. This is the responsible thing to do. I'm not going to do anything crazy. What's the responsible thing to do? What's the right thing to do? For a lot of you that have like jobs you don't love, or you're thinking of leaving relationships, or you want to try a new venture, you want to pivot, that's a common thing I hear is like, it's not responsible to do that, right? But what happens is you're just displacing your anxiety and you're calling it, I'm being responsible, because you're waiting for that certainty. And I'm here to tell you that the certainty won't come until there's the nervous system catching up and you feel safe. So what I'm going to tell you, and this is like the nuance, this is the advanced move, is that we're not afraid of change. We're afraid of actually losing our safety. So, can you see what a huge difference that would make if you had a way to feel safe? Could you see how you could be braver if you felt safe? Right? Because, like, I just went paragliding for my 59th birthday last summer in France, or in the Alps in Switzerland, and there was no way if someone just told me, like, it's safe. If I didn't, like, feel safe, I wouldn't have done it. I had to feel safe to go take a risk. Make sense? You with me? Okay. So then what actually helps when you're stuck in your head? And I'm going to make sure we leave time for questions. I have my handy dandy, amazing right hand man here, Imran, on the live. So he'll be fielding some questions or if you have comments. So, but I want to talk about what actually helps. So if you're stuck in your head, what can you do? So, yes, it's awesome to have a 5-year plan. It's great to get the opinions of other people who've done it before and talk through it with trusted sources. Um, we'd love it, when we can have all the time in the world to make a decision. However, that's not going to make you necessarily move forward because I know for a lot of you, you've done that. You've told people it's amazing. You've looked at like what the plan could be. So, what do you need to do? Number one is you need to figure out how do I create that emotional, psychological safety? Two things: emotional safety. I feel safe. Psychological safety. This makes sense to me. Both those things, and this is so overused, but it does regulate your nervous system, right? That hypervigilance, the part of your brain, the amygdala, the part that is like, am I safe? Am I safe? Is it okay to feel safe? Right? The hypervigilance can't get turned down until you feel psychologically and emotionally safe. Um, Number two, you have too many things, right? And so we need to filter it down into one micro decision at a time. I'm talking like granular, teeny tiny baby steps. Um, and we ask the wrong questions about even what we're trying to create, because what we're trying to decide between is do I like it or do I not like it? That's so binary, right? Like for what? Like according to what? What are the criteria? So we want to craft this one small decision in a way that's going to give us the actual information that we need to feel safe, not just do I like it or I don't like it. It's too risky to go there. That's too big of it's too big of a step. Um, so what I want for you is to have the one decision that matters, and then a container, a structure, a path forward, a process to, this is huge, prevent reopening the loop. So I did a workshop 2 weeks ago and had a lot of ladies talking about they have these moments of clarity. They take the class, they do the thing, they're like, this is the thing I need to do. Yes. And then the minute they get into actually taking the step, having the conversation, writing the thing, hit send, having asking for what they need, whatever it is, they're like, oh, maybe this is the wrong thing, right? Because they have self-doubt, which comes from not feeling safe. Can you see how this is a loop? And can you see how much more powerful you would be in your life if you were able to make decisions in a framework or a structure or a process that created psychological and emotional safety? Wouldn't you love to be like my client, Susan, who went from an HR executive to going through this decision making process to actually opening up a bar studio, her dream? And I just saw her post yesterday that she's starting to have wait lists for her classes and she's been open like 4 or 5 months. So wouldn't you love to be the person who could just make that kind of a leap? Um, so that structure process is what I'm doing this Sunday, and I'm doing it for free. And so I'd love to have you. I'm doing a free session. It's not just teaching, it's not just motivational, but I'm actually going to help you walk through this process lighter, clearer, so that you have some direction and that you have some clarity. We're going to break it down. So it's 90 minutes. It's live. It's Sunday, the 25th, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, because I live in the mountains. And if you're interested in coming, not if you're interested, F that. If you're committed to making this decision and you want to figure out how to do that, all you have to do is hit reset in the comments, whether you're on Instagram or Substack, and then we're going to send you all the information. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the comments, or I'm going to go online and see here. Are there any questions or comments, so that I can address those? I had a client who actually took that decision-making workshop that we did a couple weeks ago, and she got a lot of clarity, and it was amazing. And then what we were able to do when we actually started working on this, in a really granular way, was figuring out that, and this is another big thing and a big question that people don't really look at, is we're so focused on the right or the wrong if I make a mistake, that we forget to ask a really important question, which is, what is the experience of life I want to have? What's the experience of my life I want to have? When I was asking my daughter, she's got amazing opportunities, like really big name institutions, lots of possibilities, lots of places she could live all across the globe. And yes, we want to look at like what's the right institution and the right faculty and the right culture and the right all these things, and also like what's the lived experience you want to have for the next 4 to 6 years, right? So that's another really important piece of this when we're going through this process, the structure that I'm going to teach you on Sunday is making sure we're asking the right questions. That's a really, really important piece. So I'm not sure if there's questions or comments because our little system doesn't seem to be effective right now. But I'm going to be on for a few more minutes here and talk about this some more. I'm going to be doing more lives. We're going to figure out all our tech, but we figured out a way to stream on different platforms simultaneously. So I'm super excited about that. Although Substack is home. Also, if you want to put in the comments, just so, because I'll be able to see it after, what is the decision you're struggling with? Maybe it's a small one, maybe it's a huge life-changing one. Think about all of them, and really start looking at it from the lens of, I haven't failed, I'm in decision fatigue. That's why I'm exhausted. That's why I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. One last thing that I'll say before we jump off, which is this. Many, 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 many years ago, I had a great therapist coach. And then she ended up, when I had a big company, she was a coach and worked for my company. And she's just so great. Her name's Sherry Tays. And she taught me this really important thing. And that is that when we are faced with a decision and someone asks us, what are you going to do? And we go, I don't know. That is code for, I don't want to deal with it. And the reason that we don't want to deal with it is because of all of the things I told you before. We don't feel safe. We don't have structure. We don't have process. We don't know how to make a decision. I remember when I was 10 years old, in Iowa, I don't know what I was grappling with, but I remember distinctly my dad saying like, I think you need to go to a decision-making class. And so I think it's so amazing. He was right. And I never found one until I downloaded this structure, and combined it with the design thinking model. And now there is a decision-making class. So it's going to be Sunday, 9 a.m. Mountain, 90 minutes. We're going to walk through this process. I'd love to see you there. We'll be back here live. We'll figure out how to answer questions and comments. But for now, stay true to yourself and screw the should life. Bye-bye for now.